Well, you've written a book, Dave, that I think it just came out in the last couple, 3 months, and I found it fascinating. And the name of it's The Customer Revolution in Healthcare, right? Yeah, and so great book, and I'll actually show you a copy here for everybody to look. And what I want you to kind of do, obviously, it's about consumerism in healthcare. Obviously, what does that mean right now in aspect and as it relates to the pandemic? I mean, obviously, everything's different, and so has it impacted it, good or bad? What would you think? What would you say to that?
Well, the title of the book is pretty interesting. The Customer Revolution in Healthcare, and I'll get the subtitle in a second. But we had a long debate whether we should call it the Customer Revolution or the Consumer Revolution, and we decided to call it the Customer Revolution because if you define customer as the entity paying for services and making the decisions about where to get service, customers are still largely governments and large self-insured corporations. There are places where consumers do exercise market power like they do in other markets, but it's still largely self-insured companies and governments. And one of my biggest frustrations is that these groups haven't demanded more value from the system for their purchases, particularly the self-insured employers who pay premium prices. So I think they're starting to step up and demand more value, and that will put pressure on both payers and providers. Revolution, we've been at value-based care for 10 plus years, don't have a whole lot to show for it. Suggests to me that incremental change doesn't work. It's going to be fundamental change. And I believe the three drivers of that change, and they're going to work in concert, call them force multipliers, are empowered customers, so better buyers of healthcare services, what we just talked about. Liberated data. Data wants to be free and free-flowing, wants to go to where it can have the biggest impact. Government has pushed through some pretty radical interoperability regs. That's going to unleash an innovation wave that we're starting to see, in this Livongo transaction I mentioned is part of that. And then the final one is pro-market regulation as opposed to pro-business. The industry gets a higher return walking the halls of Congress and state houses, lobbying than it does driving value. And increasingly, we're seeing the regulatory environments insist on a level competitive playing field. The subtitle of the book is Delivering Kinder, Smarter, Affordable Care for All. And I just want to highlight that for all part, because I believe we're a rich country. Everybody should have access to affordable and appropriate healthcare services. Shouldn't go to bed at night worrying that healthcare is going to throw you into bankruptcy. But I don't think we're going to get there using our traditional models. We're going to need a pluralistic approach to health insurance, and we're simultaneously going to have to downsize our investment in acute care while we increase our investment in networked health, community health, chronic disease management, the primary care aspects of service delivery. And we don't get that formula right. Other countries do. They have a much better balance between primary and acute care services. So we're in for a revolution. Consumers are going to be a big part of it, and ultimately customer and consumer will be the same. Data is going to drive it, and regulation is going to drive it.
A lot of changes ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe a lot of changes are needed to make that
happen.
Both. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to actually put a link below in the LinkedIn comments here about how to actually purchase this book, because it is great. I would encourage anybody and everybody to read it. But also, y'all produce a lot of content through articles and things. How can someone be engaged with you guys to get this content and learn about maybe you speaking for them and things like that?
Well, you can go to our website, 4sightHealth.com, and it's 4 with the number 4. Or my nephew likes to go 4sight like that. Okay. So it's number 4 sight, SIGHT health.com. Can register right on the cover page, and we do have a ton of content. So if you're at all interested, in market-based health reform, between the articles I write and the team writes, and we also have a number of guest contributors, I think your audience will have more than they can ever want. So,
Well, if you're a
Check us
provider,
out.
I was going to say, if you're a provider or supplier, you need to know this information, right? It's important
Right.
to be, be up with what's going on. So you're great about that. I enjoy getting your information. Thank you so much for doing this. And we'll have you back on here a little bit later, once maybe the world kind of sorts out a little bit. And but
Whenever
you're
that
kind.
is.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you know what,
appreciate it.
Hayes? Just because you're such a good guy, we'll put a discount coupon that will say Hayes on it, so your readers can get a discount on the book too.
Well, I hope they beat your door down. That would
There
be
you go.
great. All right. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good night.